So let's talk about Chris Paul and his Warrior debut, right? So bad first half, albeit he was part of the bench unit that got the Warriors back in the game. And that's the whole point, right? Is that now when Steph Curry sits, the Warriors actually look like a competent NBA team, which for a lot of the last decade, and particularly the last few years, where, there's no more Sean Livingston and there's no more Andre Iguodala kind of thing, or at least Iggy close to his prime, the Warriors have, a bench unit that really struggles. And if they can, go even like plus minus 0 in those non-Steph Curry minutes, that's a positive. Well, they were actually better than that, right? So what was Steph plus minus in this one? Just double checking. So Steph plays 30 minutes, nearly 31 minutes. In foul trouble, obviously played more. Otherwise, he was a -9. So the Warriors were a +5 with Steph Curry on the bench. That's a major positive if you're the Warriors. Another major positive, you bring Chris Paul in, turnover issues. Now, Chris Paul had his own turnover issues in the preseason. And again, this is only game 1, but the Warriors had 6 turnovers in the first 3 quarters. Really good. This was not a typical Warriors throwing the ball all over the place and just needless turnovers that turn into fast break opportunities for the other team. And that's probably why the Warriors were able to keep Durant and Booker, even in the last 3 quarters, somewhat quiet, is because they were able to get into their half-court defense a little bit more than what we've seen from the Warriors in the past. Chuckster says, that's what I saw tonight. The bench actually came back and took the lead. Dario was an impact player tonight too. Yeah, Dario Saric was good. There's some issues with him in terms of being able to finish around the rim at times. Like, he's obviously not a power athlete that's going to go up and dunk stuff. And I do think when there's, heavy contests from the opposition big, he can struggle at times to kind of finish through contact or around contact. So there's some stuff there that needs to be ironed out. I do think that I would like to see moving forward, I would like to see more CP Kuminga pick and roll with Saric spaced out on the perimeter than CP Saric pick and roll with Kuminga spaced out on the perimeter. So Chuck says we're missing his floor general mentality. That's why we had so many turnovers in ref all there. So yeah, I mean, that was the thing, I guess, at the end of the day, was that the Suns kept the Warriors in the game to an extent, despite their poor shooting. One with the fouling in the third quarter, where the Warriors got to line on 16 occasions in the third quarter. And they ended up having 19 turnovers to the Warriors 11. So the Warriors had some down the stretch, which were disappointing, like 5 turnovers in the fourth quarter. But like overall, you'd have to say, like, Chris Paul, a success in his first game. Now, he didn't shoot the ball well. So he finishes with 14.6 rebounds, 9 assists, 4 for 15 shooting. Didn't make any of his 6 3-point attempts. But what's the whole reason you bring in Chris Paul? You bring him so he can run the second unit and look like not just a competent NBA team, but have a good second unit when Steph's off the floor. And you bring him in when Steph, like if Steph gets into foul trouble, like he did in the third quarter, where he's out of the game at, basically 4 minutes into the third with 4 fouls, you can actually survive. And not only survive, but you can thrive. And so I think from that perspective, you have to say that Chris Paul's Warrior debut was a success for him individually and for the reasons they brought him in. Now, at the end of the day, 4 for 15 shooting is poor. He'll need to work on that. But I do think that, he was able to control the game in a way that Warrior fans could have only ever hoped a game would be controlled with Steph Curry off the floor. Because really, I mean, last few years, you've been playing Russian roulette with Steph Curry on the bench, and you're just hoping and praying that you can survive those minutes. Well, right now, I think, the Warriors second unit should be, I've said it throughout the preseason, even before that, this Warriors second unit should be at least top 10 in the league. So they were 17th last season. They should be top 10. They may be even top 5.